Orale.
Let's do a podcast. Let's just run with it. Yeah. Are we podcast veterans at this point?
Yeah, dude, of course we are.
Okay, all right.
You know what we're doing.
Welcome to Degos on 3, hosted by Sonny and the Murph, podcasting since 2012. Join us for 1 hour and 3 topics: family, sports, and entertainment. So listen in as you mow your lawn, drive to work, or are grinding at the gym. How's your team going to do this year? What games you playing? Got any crazy family stories you want to share? Grab that drink of choice. It's time.
All right, welcome to the first edition of the new but old podcast called Degos on 3. I am your host, Sonny, and with me, as he's been with me for every podcast adventure I've done over the last 3 years, I believe, is my good friend, kind of a brother, tall cousin of mine, Josh, a.k.a. the Murph. Josh, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing fantastic, Sonny. It's like putting on an old pair of shoes. And sir, may I point out? I'm not trying to point out mistakes. We're not the kind of guys that do that to one another. But I'm going to call you out on that 3 years. It's been more like 5 since way back in the day when we started podcasting, doing that little old radio show about a Madden league. That was almost 5 years ago.
That is true. I always forget that that was a podcast. I always just think of that as like the radio show, and I think back to the Sports Degos as being our main podcast and stuff like that. But you're all right. You are right. I stand corrected. Anyway, so welcome. This is the first episode of hopefully what will be a long-lasting podcast. We've done many in the past, and if not for babies and school and Madden, we'd probably still be going. And so, good thing neither of us have school in the future or babies in the future, so that way we
just don't have babies or school this month.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically the format of this podcast is like this: 3 topics, 2 hosts, 2 Degos, 1 hour. The 3 topics each week will be centered around 3 themes, if you will: family, entertainment, sports. We tried to come up with a cool FES or SEF or ESF, but it just didn't work. So it's basically 20 minutes on each theme or each topic, and then we move on to the next one. So the first one will be family, and then entertainment, and then sports. Will it always be in that order, Murph?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think we'll typically run off of what the hot topic of the day is, or whatever's fresh on our mind, or fresh in our lives, or fresh in the world, or whatever. So I think that could fluctuate a little bit as we go through, but always those 3. And really, like, what else is there? Like, those, like, is a couple of almost middle-aged dudes. Like, that's it. Family, sports, and entertainment.
We could probably throw in food. It could be FESF, family, entertainment, sports.
Wait a minute. That's entertainment to me.
That's true.
You mean we're not going to talk about like what you actually get out of enjoying like a big old giant plate of La Villa raviolis? Like, that's entertainment, right, bud.
And anytime I eat, it's always a competition with myself to see how much I can shock myself and how much I can eat in a short span of time as possible and stuff like that. So I guess
we're
true.
Event eaters.
Yeah, every time we eat is an event. Anyway. So 3 topics, 2 co-hosts. Murph, tell them a little bit about you. Why are they tuning in to listen to you?
I have absolutely no idea. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I think that it's, gosh, that's a good question. I hate to.
Oh, you didn't prepare to answer this?
Not that one. No, not to, because, I don't typically talk about myself nor qualify, but I guess, I don't know. I think, there's a lot of different podcasts out there, and there's a lot of easy listens out there. And I think there's also a lot of, hey, we're a couple of dads, just a couple of regular guys. And so there certainly is going to be that element of that with us. But I think that, our family's funny. or I think we're pretty funny. Not, I just think we are. I don't mean that as like, as a self-congratulatory kind of way.
Funny how? Funny looking? Funny.
Yeah, like I'm on my freaking clown here to amuse you. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. I just think that we're 10, and so we could just bring a fresh perspective on dad stuff. And again, I think that we could do a good job of bringing that on the air and talking about it.
Sure. And I think to a certain degree, don't discredit the fact that, we're nothing special. Just two dudes, You're a salesman working in the Midwest. You got two boys that are one I think is a teenager and one's close to being a teenager, and you love sports, family, and entertainment and stuff, And to a certain degree, it is an everyday Joe. On one hand, but at the same time, that's always unique to the perspective that it's brought by and stuff like that, And I think when you mention our families, due to interesting histories of our families, and then what we've had to do to kind of deal with that and overcome that to a certain degree and understand it and learn from it, I think it gives us a unique perspective as well. But at the same time, it'll be able to relate to, I think, several listeners out there. As in the past, what have we had, like tens of listeners before? So, maybe this time we'll have 11s of listeners if we're lucky, right?
It would be nice to have 11s of listeners. And, I really appreciate the question. And I hate that I didn't have something a little more, use your term, prepared for it to come up with. But it's a really unique question. And I think it's kind of neat because really what does anybody have to offer in that type of arena as you grow older and you become less identified with yourself and you become more identified with other things. And so I think that actually your question could actually, just now sitting here thinking about it for a second, could actually lead into a pretty cool topic. Is that, I joke about that people used to come over to our house to see me. Now they come over to see my kids or my wife. Like I'm not so as a dad and as a career guy, now I'm more associated with my job, with being so-and-so's father or so-and-so's husband. And I tend to lose a little bit of what those, of not lost my identity, but you just, there are other things that you become identified with where when you're in your 20s, it's just all about you. Right. And so I think that is kind of unique because you're right. I have a full-time career and full-time, as a family man, but I do have other hobbies and things. And absolutely that's where obviously you got the family portion of it, but then the sports entertainment is like, what do you do? And when you do have your downtime, what's interesting. And I think that's where, our willingness to get on a podcast and talk about this kind of stuff. I think that's where we could bring some value to somebody that's wanting to pop their earbuds in when they get on the rowing machine or driving to work or whatever, is that, you're going to have the same kind of conversations that maybe you will with a buddy. And maybe you don't have touch with your buddies as much as you used to. So maybe that's it. So how about you? Let me return the question to you. What is it that qualifies you to lead a podcast about middle-aged or almost middle-aged dads and stuff that's going on in the world?
Well, I'm 5'11 and a half. I am by BMI standards severely obese. I have more hair per square inch on my back than I do on any section of my head currently. And I have 2 kids and one on the way. To steal a line from Gaffigan, I feel like I'm drowning, and someone's going to hand me a 3rd kid and say, "Here, have a nice day," and stuff like that. I don't know. I think it is just let's hang out, let's have a conversation, and bring perspectives from our own, and then go with there. I am also a trained and licensed counselor for adolescents with substance use issues, and I'm about 4 or 5 months away from getting my master's degree in mental health counseling as well, to work with kids with mental health addiction issues and stuff or mental health issues as well as addiction issues, co-occurring issues and stuff like that. And then at the same time, just a unique perspective of just my life and what I've done. And that's it. Nothing special, nothing fancy. Just bring it like it is. All right. So how this is going to work? Not so much. What's that show on ESPN where they have like a certain amount of time to do their thing? That's not part of the eruption, isn't it?
Yeah, PTI.
Okay,
yeah.
PTI.
Well, there's a few of them that kind of follow that, hit the different topics format as they cascade the different topics down, whether it's PTI or, oh my gosh, Around the Horn.
Yeah.
They all kind of follow that.
And so in the past, just to give some context for this, we started out running this Madden League back in 2012, I think, 2011. It was from Madden 12. Did that, liked it, developed a radio show for it. Did that, liked it, developed an actual podcast called the Sports Degos. Gained some, decent following. I think we had over 1,000 followers on Twitter, stuff like that. Would write articles. I remember one year it was the Spurs. Who was it? Spurs Cavs or Spurs Heat finals. We wrote an article about Tim Duncan. It got a lot of tread and stuff like that. So it was really cool. A lot of fun. We talk sports anyway, so might as well talk it, in a public forum, I guess. And then after that, we had to kill it for a while because kids started happening for my life. And then we started back with a brief one called Child Dads, which was basically about raising your family and just, trying to make sense of being a dad and raising a kid and stuff like that. And then it kind of fizzled out. I think there was another kid that happened.
Uh-huh.
And then this is now the third attempt. We just decided to incorporate all of it. So instead of focusing on just sports and just being a father, we're going to do all three. We're going to do family, sports, and we're going to add in entertainment as well. So this way, Murph, if I have a kid, we're already doing a show about having kids and family. So that way it'll just incorporate right in. Like we could do a live broadcast from the hospital room my wife gives birth, I think in March or something like that, which would be really cool. Oh, I think she'd be all for it. Totally.
She will. Absolutely.
Anyway, so enough said. Our podcast will be on Libsyn. It'll also be on Twitter. If you want to find us on Twitter, just look for Degos on 3 at Twitter at Degos on 3. And then we're on Facebook. Actually, we're doing a unique thing. In the past, what we've done is we've done group pages for our podcast, but this time we're actually going to do just a group. So listeners, if you like what we talk about, if you want to chime in more, if you want to ask questions to be brought up during the next podcast, we invite you to join our Facebook page. And I think it's or the Facebook group. And Murph, what's the group called? Is it just Degos on 3?
Just Degos on 3. That's correct.
So if you're on Facebook, just type in Degos on 3, just DEGOS space on space the number 3, and then that'll add you to our super top secret Degos on 3 group. People can see, let's see, how do we set it? We have it as a closed group. So anyone can find the group and see who's in it, but only members can see the posts. So anything you put in the group, nobody will be able to read that except for people in the group. So if you wanted to talk about some private stuff with your family, come at it. We'll be in there talking about stuff as well. And I think as this progresses, that'll be more of a kind of a fun way to interact with everybody, don't you think, Murph?
I think so. I think it's going to be kind of a fun offline way to continue the show and to, get feedback from your audience. That was one of the things that when we were doing the Sports Degos, really did like a lot was that we got a lot of feedback from Twitter, but that's only 140 characters in text, right? So it's going to be nice to be able to expand a little bit with the people that like the show and really get interactive, to give us maybe some fresh ideas to talk about on the show, but just to be more in touch with who's out there paying attention. When we've done these different podcasts, Sports Degos was probably by far the most, if you want to call it, successful of them, or at least the most paid attention to. But why? What you don't really know why and who's listening to you and when they're listening to you, and you just see the numbers are on the screen when you get the analytics of the stuff. So it'll be cool to be in the Facebook group because we'll actually get feedback. And we flat stole that idea from a couple other podcasts. And it's just a cool community. It's a cool way. Of course, it's moderated, so there's nothing that's going to be crazy going on there. So it's not like an old school message board or nothing. But it's just kind of a nice way to kind of cascade fresh information. And so hopefully that will be a cool little area in between shows where not only we can go, but also the other folks that are paying attention to us can go.
Exactly. And then here's the other thing, just to put it out there. Not trying to knock other podcasts, but I don't want to be the podcast where you know what we're going to talk about. You tune in and you got to wait 25 minutes to get to it, almost like we've done today. This podcast is really just an intro, who we are, what we're about, and then we're going to jump into the topics moving forward here pretty quickly. But again, in the future, what we want to do is as soon as the podcast starts, I'm Sonny, this is Murph, here we go. And real quick intros and just get right at it and get after it and get out. And it'll be an hour, maybe an hour 3, hour 4. Yeah.
And don't expect every week to come on here and hear me say I have nothing to offer and I have no idea why you would want to listen to us.
Yeah.
What a whirlwind way to start off a new show.
That happens once and once
Goodness
only.
gracious.
Once and once only.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so
Get better, Murph.
All that said, Murph, you ready to jump in the first topic?
Oh, why are we on the Degos?
Why they called it? Because we're Italian, Murph. I'm Italian. You have the last name of Murphy. I don't know what you are.
I'm half Italian. I'm half of you. I'm half Italian.
Yeah. So
both your parents are Degos, and I got one.
Both my parents are Degos. Father is from Sicily, or his family's from Sicily. Josh's mom's family's from Sicily. My mom's family's from northern Italy. And so just a lot of Italian in our family, and grew up hearing Italian stories and hearing Italian names and eating as much pasta as you could possibly eat. And then your grandma would say, "You haven't ate enough today. Eat some more, you know." And just grew up in that family and that lifestyle. And so to this day, I continue to be the loudest person wherever I go, and usually the most obnoxious, and usually have the hairiest back anywhere I go. So yeah, we're Italian.
Yeah. Hey, Grandma didn't have. She had no time for BMI.
No
BMI.
No, BMI is for like Chinese people, man. BMI Italians doesn't work.
Jeez, you just offended all of our Chinese listening fan base.
Oh yeah. Oh, don't worry. It'll get more. I got jokes for every race. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Ready?
That's not really.
First
come
topic.
on.
Here we go.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe
Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame inductees for the NFL going on tonight, I believe. I think speeches are happening right now. I'm reading on Twitter, witnessing Brett Favre's speech is the greatest thing since sliced bread, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Should Brett Favre have gotten in? Here's my question about. Here's my question about Favre. He won one Super Bowl, and then that was it.
No. Are you okay? You ready? You tell me when you're done talking.
He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and he also broke Marino's touchdown record. Brett Favre owns so many of the passing records. He absolutely belongs in there. Not only did he win one Super Bowl, which that's not enough to get you in, but when you are consistently the best at your position,
was he
in
the
time,
best? Is my question though.
Oh, there's no doubt.
You don't think Steve Young and Troy Aikman and
sure,
Elway.
Those guys were great. Well, they were peers of one another, and so were Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, and their careers certainly overlapped Favre as well. But when you watch Brett Favre play, here's what the only reason that even people, I'm surprised you're even asking, but the only reason that people have ever even questioned is because of all the crap that he did with the last 3 to 5 years of his career.
No, that's not my reasoning. Go ahead though.
Okay, well, all right. When he started dancing in and out of retirement, that's when, it kind of tarnished his legacy a little bit because of all of that stuff, and because then people started focusing on the joke of whether he's going to retire or not. But when you watch him play, and I watched last night, they had, I don't know if you're familiar with the show Gruden's QB Camp. But, okay, all right. Well, it's normally he gets guys pre-draft. Like this year it was Jared Goff okay. So he gets guys like that, and he's had Andrew Luck in there, and he's had Cam Newton in there, and he's had a bunch of quarterbacks, Colt McCoy, you name it. Okay, a whole bunch. And he goes over and he interviews them. They do field work. He has them break down plays. It's a really, really cool show. Well, he did the same thing with Brett Favre. This is the first time they've had a veteran guy on there, especially somebody who's getting ready to go into the Hall of Fame. It was so cool because I don't know if you remember, but Gruden coached Brett Favre back in Green Bay when Brett Favre started. In fact, they joked that Gruden was the one that picked him up from the airport when he got traded to Green Bay from Atlanta. So anyway, they break down in kind of it's snippets, but they break down his career at different points throughout. He was an absolute rock star when it came to the field, dude. Not only was he having more fun than everybody else on the field, he had the strongest dang arm, probably even stronger than our boy Marino. You and I grew up big Dan Marino fans because of he's Italian and because one of the greatest pure passers ever seen.
Because you mentioned one thing that I think got him in. He was having more fun than everybody. Well, he was. I'm not going to discredit that. He kind of reminded me of like the good old boy who got in and won one for the Gipper and stuff. He was an everyday guy. But here's my biggest beef with it. His career quarterback rating is 86. You want me to list some of the names ahead of him? How about Jay Cutler, tied at 86, and Trent Green also at 86? Are they Hall of Fame quarterbacks? Jeff Garcia, 87.5. Dante Culpepper, 87.8. Carson Palmer, 88.1. Matt freaking Schaub, 89.1. Chad Pennington, 90.1.
Yeah,
so are those guys going to get in?
No, but you're only talking about one criteria. Here's the
quarterback
big,
ratings are
big,
pretty good criteria, though.
It's a criteria, sure. But I mean, if you go on that, where's Terry Bradshaw? I mean, I don't know, but I mean, it's, he got in on his team winning 4 championships. It didn't have anything to do with his quarterback rating.
Sucked.
All right. Well, yeah, exactly. But the difference is that Favre had the ability to make throws that none of those guys that you just described had. And so, did he always make the right choice? No, he says that in the interviews. No, I didn't always make the right choice, but I always believed that I could because he had a talent. So that's
qualification to get you in because you believe you can.
When you have a talent that is unmatched and you are able to go, the guy played in 297 straight games. We will never see that again. We'll never see that again. So it's a culmination of a bunch of different things with him. He had an MVP season 2 years before he retired, and if it wasn't for an Adrian Peterson fumble, is probably playing in his third Super Bowl.
That was his best quarterback rating of his career. It was 107.
That's what I'm saying. So and that went 40 years old. So I mean, he absolutely. People hate on Brett, and there's a lot of different reasons to hate on Brett.
I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a question. I think that it's a silly question, a silly notion to what, not your question wasn't silly, but the notion that you hear from folks about is he a Hall of Famer? Of course he's a Hall of Famer. He was a Hall of Famer the first 5-6 years of his career. I mean, when you have talent like that that's unmatched and you're able to do those things on the field, you're a Hall of Fame player. No doubt.
To perform,
no.
even though you can make a great
But he
great
did.
Once in a while.
That wasn't a once in a while. Watch this guy's career. No, it wasn't once in a while. He was cut. He was one of the greatest. I'm trying to think what the word is. He was the greatest at improvising on the field, at least in our lifetime that we've ever seen. I never watched Otto Graham play live. I never watched Sammy Baugh or any of those guys. Yeah, you know what I mean? Those guys were gone or retired before we saw him, but he was, I mean, when you talk about creating something out of nothing,
and sometimes it was younger Elway at that, or even cutting.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. When you watch what he was able to make, and it wasn't only his improvisation on the field or during the play, but it was before the play when he would, him and Freeman would, draw up a play in the dirt essentially, and they go out and run it and have it be successful and have him be successful more times than not. Absolutely. I don't even think it's close.
That goes back to the whole good old boy. Like, we like him because he's a good old boy, and that's why he got in. Because if it's just numbers, it's not that impressive.
When you look at quarterback rating, when you look at all-time numbers,
a lot of interceptions.
Yeah, because he was willing to take the shot. So
he should be rewarded because he was willing to make throws other people wouldn't because they knew they would have an interception. Because he made a lot of dumb throws. You can't argue with that.
I wouldn't say he made dumb throws. I just said he made bad decisions. But see, here's the thing about Favre though that I appreciate, and this is something that has always confused me for the people that are his detractors. Okay, is that how do you fault a guy that believes in all of his being for somebody that clearly loves football more than or as much as any other player we've ever seen play the game, have a firm belief that he can make a play? How can you look at that guy and be critical of that, especially when
everybody believes they can win, though. That's it.
I don't agree, because when you play 20 years in the NFL and you make those decisions that you make, that wasn't a bad read. Okay. He wasn't ill-informed. He wasn't not reading a defense correctly. He knew exactly what he was doing in that moment. And at times it didn't work. I think that's 100% completely different than somebody like Sanchez, who can't figure out what the defense is doing before, during, or after the play. That's a completely different story.
But now you're saying he never was confused. He never made a bad read. Like, he didn't always know what he was doing. He made a lot of dumb throws. And I remember distinctly hearing many times post-game, well, I shouldn't have made that. I was trying to do this, but messed up or had a bad read. So he didn't always knew what he was doing. He did it a lot. And
well, he's a human being. It's never always and
sure.
never. I get that. But what I'm saying, though, is that when you watch the guy play, it was his confidence and his talent is what created those plays, positive or negative. It was never based on lack of talent or lack of preparation or an ill-informed decision. May not have been a good decision, may not have worked out, but he was doing it based on prior results. When you watch this, I'm telling you, man, you got to watch this Gruden QB camp. They were showing footage from when his first practice with the Packers. And Gruden was calling him Nolan Ryan, because when you see him dropping back, he takes a 5-step drop and he's firing into like hitches and slant routes and stuff. The balls are bouncing off of face masks. They're bouncing off of the guy's chest, of their hands, because he's throwing absolute rockets at these guys. Like, his follow through, he looks like a pitcher. The way that he's following through, the receivers can't catch the ball because it's coming.
So that's a qualification because he throws a ball receivers can't catch.
When you have a talent to where you can throw a football so goddamn hard, you break somebody's fingers when they're trying to catch it, absolutely that's going to be a prerequisite. If talent is not a prerequisite for the NFL or for the Hall of Fame, then shame on the Hall of Fame.
Talent is. But a pitcher doesn't throw a fastball every pitch. You have to know how to throw it in there and stuff like that.
You got to be able to throw strikes. These were strikes. They were hitting them right in between the numbers. That's what I'm saying. When you have that kind of God-given talent, you have that kind of an ability, heck yes, that's part of being a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt. Jerry Rice's hands, is it because Jerry Rice had great hands? He had better hands than I don't know, Herman Moore. So is that why Jerry Rice is a Hall of Famer? Yes. Yes, he's better at catching a football. So yes. Brett Favre could throw it harder than somebody else. So, yes, that's part
Here's
of it.
the deal.
Absolutely.
I think he gets a free pass because he's a good old boy and everybody loves him. I think that's a huge part of
you don't get in first ballot Hall of Famer. There was nobody that was more of a good old boy than our boy, Kenny, and it took him to die, sadly,
They hated Kenny because of what he did and his image and stuff like that and what team he was a part of. Come on. We all know that. That's conspiracy.
No, but he was part of that network, though. He was absolutely part of the Good Old Boy network.
Yeah, he was a good old boy, but he was a little different and stuff, you know.
Okay. Well, I don't think I'm gonna totally disagree with you about Favre. There's no way.
How about Edward DeBartolo Jr.?
That's bullshit.
Did he even play?
He
never
played.
An owner, right? And he was the son of his dad, right?
Yeah, cheated the dang system and found out found out to take advantage of and I guess, as Raider fans, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. But yeah, he took advantage of the salary cap. He put the freaking team in cap hell for like 10 years after the NFL ran him out, told him he couldn't no longer be part of ownership. There's a reason that somebody named York is running the team now and owns the team now, and that DeBartolo isn't part of it. It's because the NFL got rid of him.
Now he did, to his credit, hired Bill Walsh, 79, drafted Montana. And then, we all know what happened in the 80s. So he was there when all that was going down.
I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, there's an executive, and I'm doing that with finger quotes that you can't see because we're on a podcast. There's an executive nomination every year, and I'm pretty sure that he got the executive nomination. So when you look at the pool of people to nominate for that, it's kind of small. It's not like you're not talking about like you having to play as a player base, which even that is small. And there's 1,500 guys that play in this league every year. So, it's not surprising to me people like this. Same thing with when they put in broadcasters or journalists.
Yeah, but listen to this. Only 13 wins per season. He averaged 13 wins per season. During his ownership, the team claimed 13 division championships, made the playoffs 16 times, went to the NFC Championship game 10 times, and was the first franchise to ever win 5 Super Bowls.
And how many games did he start? And how
yeah,
many
but
game
he
plans
put it
did
all
he
together, dude. I mean, you got to give him credit for that. I mean, if you're gonna bring in a front office guy who never played, that's pretty good. Those numbers are pretty good. Even though I hate the Niners, you can't argue with the team he put together.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna.
He had best winning percentage in the NFL in the 80s and the 90s.
I don't, unless you, to me, as an owner, they don't need to get in unless they've done something above and beyond owning the team. When you look at people like Al Davis or Lamar Hunt, okay, or the Mara family, when you look at those people that were fundamentally part of building the NFL and creating the NFL and making the NFL what it is today, whether it be building the brand or building the franchise models or whatever it may be, those are the types of guys to me that are Hall of Famers. Somebody that's just owns the team and hired some people to do all that stuff for him, I don't
think
agree.
Having the vision for it and the scouts and hiring the right people.
Vision
I mean, he kind of
it wasn't his
directed
vision.
that whole thing. You know?
He didn't direct nothing. It wasn't his vision. It was Carmen Policy's vision. It was Bill Walsh's vision. It was those guys who are.
But he had to hire Bill Walsh.
Is Mark Davis a Hall of Famer because he hired Reggie McKenzie? So if the Raiders go on and win 2 Super Bowls with the teams that they have now,
I mean, you can't deny the Niners in the '80s. I mean, come on, might be one of the best decades ever for a team ever.
I'm not being facetious with my question. I'm being dead ass serious. If the Raiders go on to win 3 straight Super Bowls,
has to be 5,
and they win 5 in the next 7 years, is Mark Davis a Hall of Fame owner? The answer to that question is
because of his haircut.
No.
He'll never get in because of his haircut.
There you go. But it's a resounding no. He didn't do it. He just chose to do something different than his dad. So is that decision make him a Hall of Famer?
Well, so you're saying front office guys just shouldn't get in, period.
No, I already addressed that. Have they done anything that's to make as an owner? Not even just to make the league better, but what is it about Hall of Famers that gets them elected? It's something that we've never seen or on before. Were they the absolute best at what they did? And when you watch those guys, when you watched Marino play, he was unlike anybody we'd ever seen before. When you saw Bill Walsh's offense, it was unlike anything we've seen before. When you saw Dick LeBeau's defense, it was unlike anything we've ever seen before. When these guys that are getting in, they're doing something that's unique. I don't think what DeBartolo did is unique, and I don't think it was even unique over a long period of time. Because if you're talking about the criteria for him was putting these people in place, then guess what? He made a good decision. He might have made 2 good decisions, and then he washed his hands, backed up, and they went to work. They're the ones that built that dynasty.
I'm not saying he won this games. I'm saying he put it all together. Tony Dungy.
Tony Dungy was the first African American coach to win the Super Bowl. Heck yeah, absolutely.
Oh, so he's in based on race and race alone.
No, that's not what I said.
That's the first thing you said. I said Tony Dungy. You said, of course, he's the first black guy to win a Super Bowl. Why should that distinguish him above anybody else?
Well, that's a whole nother conversation that we can get into. But when you look at the history of coaches in the NFL, there's not very many of them that have been of color. And so for him to go from where he was as a player and to the successes that he's had as a coach in multiple spots, it wasn't like he just inherited a team and went and won a Super Bowl like, George Seifert or freaking, Mike Kubiak or something, where he just walked through the door to an already built thing and just went on and won a Super Bowl. No, Tony Dungy built the Buccaneers.
Okay, so let's say that then. He gets in because he built the Buccaneers and then he went and won with the Colts. Not because he was the first African American. He shouldn't get in because of that.
But when you think about it, if just look at the numbers of it, okay, there was a lot less opportunities, and there still is. It's still a broken system. There's a lot less opportunities for African-American coaches, whether it be positional coaches, okay? So for him to be the first one to do it, yeah. We're not talking about Jackie Robinson here. I mean, this isn't the 50s. Thank God we're slowly getting there as far as improving when it comes to that stuff, but still be the first guy to do it. Heck yeah. And I'll always make it about a Raider thing, right? Cause that's what
Al
we do.
Davis.
he's the first one not only hired an African-American head coach, but Tom Flores should be in the Hall of Fame because he was the first guy of any skin color to win a Super Bowl, and the guy won 2 of them.
Thank you.
Like, why isn't he in the day?
Thank you very much.
That, to me, is as big of a travesty as a lot of this stuff. One Latino head coach, what's the difference? It's a Latino, black, whatever. It's a minority, and he did it. Freaking Flores should be there.
Our boy Kenny Stabler finally got in. Why did it? It took too long, and I think the image of him is what held him out of the Hall of Fame. I think, man. I mean, the first book I ever read when I was a kid was his one where he had the Raider helmet turned upside down, beer cans sticking out of it and stuff like that. I think it was called Snake, and I think he had a bad image. 30 seconds left on sports. Last thought.
I think a lot of players from that era had bad images, and it never kept them out. I think it was Kenny's performance at the latter parts of his career is what cost him, because he was a steaming mess when in New Orleans, and only a little bit better than that in Houston.
It's true. I think he never won. He won one, but then Bradshaw won the rest of them in the 70s. And I think if he would have won 2 or 3, it'd have been no problem. Next topic: Suicide Squad. See what it did over the weekend, though.
I saw that it set records for, gosh, what a segue transition that is. We might have to work on something a little softer there.
We just go, bro. We just go.
Okay, so yeah, I saw that it broke records. I've also read the reviews, and the reviews are absolutely terrible. And I'm going to ask you back a question: Do you let critical influence, professional critics, do you let that influence whether you go out and see a movie or not?
Good question. I wasn't prepared for. Oh no, never mind. I am prepared for it. I don't even know anything about Suicide Squad to begin with. I think it's one of the DC or Marvel movies. You could tell me more than that.
Wow. Yeah, you really don't know it.
No, I don't. I worry about things that matter to me. No, just kidding. Sometimes I do. I don't know, man. That's a good question. For video games, for movies, if I really want to do something or see something or play something, I'm going to play it. Let's take The Division, for example. The Division, I think I first heard about The Division last year, the video game. I thought it was awesome setting. I thought the gameplay looked really cool. I thought the concept looked really cool. I was all hyped for it, right? The beta came out. I played it. I liked it. I didn't fall in love with it, but I liked it a lot. I was like, man, this is pretty sweet. Then reviews started coming in. Everybody was dissing it, saying the game was broken. This was broken on it, that was broken on it, yada, yada, yada. And so I didn't play it. I didn't buy it. But inside of me was just like, man, you should go get that game. And so I even went one time to GameStop, was going to get a game. I had some extra money. And I bought Witcher 3 because I'd heard great things about that. And on the cover, it was like Game of the Year, I think. Everybody raved about the game. So I picked that up, went home and played it for like 2 hours, and was like, this is dumb. It was kind of like, reminded me of Skyrim kind of on steroids, just a same kind of world, much different story and stuff, but same kind of concept and world of Skyrim. So I took it back. I was like, I don't want to play this. Bought a PlayStation. Remember we were going to do the show league. I bought a PlayStation, played The Last of Us. And I was like, took that game back about halfway through. And that game had rave reviews. For years, all I heard was Last of Us, Last of Us. Took that game back. Finally, I bought The Division, and I love it. And I still love it to this day. I was playing it a couple hours ago before we started the podcast and stuff. And so sometimes I do, and then sometimes I just think if something's eating at me enough, I'm going to play it anyway to get my own review, to get my own idea about it. Because at the end of the day, a review from Siskel and Ebert is really just their opinion, isn't it? What's the difference between a review and an opinion? That's my question back to you.
Well, I don't think there is anything different, but I think the aggregate of those is definitely telltale. When you look at like a Rotten Tomatoes score, I think that's a lot more indicative of what quality, whether the quality is good or bad on a film, versus just, a single person's point of view or opinion on it. So Yeah, I think, for me, I don't let it, I'm with you. Like, if I got my heart, like, I'm gonna see the movie.
Mm-hmm.
What it does for me, though, is that there's a handful of franchises, mainly Star Wars for myself and our family, but some of the Marvel stuff as well. There might be a couple other things if I thought about it long enough. Probably like a full-on standalone Batman movie. There's things like that I'm just going to go see day one, especially on something like Star Wars. It's a family event for us, and this will kind of bleed our topic lines a little bit. That's a family. That is a outing for our family. It is, whether we didn't go to, now they're not even doing midnight movies anymore. Now they're doing them like Thursdays at normal showtime hours. But we're going. I held my kids out of school on Friday for Star Wars.
Child abuse.
We kept them out of school. We went first thing in the morning. We went and had breakfast. We got Starbucks. We went to the theater. The theater was really cool. They had cosplayers. They had droid builders. They had R2-D2s rolling around everywhere. It was an event. It was awesome. It was fun. We saw the movie, loved it. Went and grabbed lunch afterwards, kind of tooled around. Like, it was a family day. So it wouldn't have mattered to me if the critics said The Force Awakens is a turd. It wouldn't matter because we're going to go do all that stuff no matter what. But now here's the difference, is that on something like, we're huge Batman fans. We love Batman fans. And again, if it was a Batman standalone flick, we'd definitely go see it. But for something like Batman versus Superman, that I knew where Batman was kind of part of the story and really a lesser part of that movie than it was more like Superman 2 featuring Batman. Something like that, when the reviews came out and trashing the movie, instead of us kind of running out and making a plan to make this, we just kind of waited. And we ended up seeing it like within the first week of it being open. Well, we just kind of waited until we didn't make plans around going out to see it. We didn't go see it in IMAX 3D like we did Star Wars. We just went and saw a 2D version of it, and when it kind of fit into our schedule and went and saw it. And it frankly kind of stunk. And so I'm glad we did. So to me, that's what the reviews will do, is that I'm going to see Suicide Squad. My family and I are going to see Suicide Squad. We're going to see it in the theater, but we didn't go yesterday and go see it in IMAX 3D and make it a big old thing. We're going to go see it when we go see it. And if it really gets trashed enough, and if I hear, things that, this may have questionable content for kids. My kids are a little older now, so they're almost to the point now, at least for a superhero kind of movie, they're not anything that's going to, wreck them. We might just wait. Like, there's some, there's even been like some of the Thor movies, some of those that I've waited till they come out on DVD or get it on Amazon or something. Like, we haven't even gone and seen those in the theater. So, it depends critically. It just kind of influences when I'm going to see it and what format I'm going to see it. It doesn't take away from the fact that we're going to eventually go see the movie. I don't think the critics, as far as those genre flicks, whether it, Lord of the Rings or, anything Tolkien, you include the Hobbit movies, or anything Star Wars, anything comic booky for the most part, Harry Potter, any of those big franchisey kind of things. I mean, we're going to go see those kind of one way or the other. But then some of the other one-off type titles, which become fewer and further between nowadays, that might that might influence me enough to, just not go at all.
So
not waste my time until let's hit Netflix or something.
On Rotten Tomatoes, most people I think know how Rotten Tomatoes works. Typically, it has two scores. It has the tomato meter, which is the percentage of approved tomato critics who've given the movie a positive review, and then it has the audience score, percentage of users who have rated this movie 3.5 stars or higher. Tomato meter has 26%, audience score 73%. So in that situation, who has more clout, do you think? Audience or critics?
You know what? That's a very cool question, because I think there's a couple things going on that if you took the aggregate of the average Joe, okay, people like you that didn't even know if it's a DC or Marvel property, if you took the aggregate of those people that went and saw that movie, what would their tomato meter be? That's much different than what the fanboys who have already seen the movie opening weekend, the people that are going to, for the most part, blindly defend their franchise because it's something they love, and they're going to make excuses for it. There's a lot of franchise with it, like X-Men or it's, some of the other Marvel stuff, or it's, the DC movie. The fanboys will kind of blindly defend it because that's their thing. And there's that. It's like someone
fanboy's gonna be a fanboy.
A fanboy's gonna be a fanboy. You know what I mean? It's like somebody calling you fat. I can call you fat. Somebody else calls you fat. I got a problem. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And it's like that. So that I think that's what it is. Is that when they're gonna defend Suicide Squad on there, where the critics, they don't have any loyalty. They don't have I'll give you a perfect example.
But don't they have a certain look if they write a controversial review, or don't you think there's some clickbait kind of going on? Some guys are going to trash it. Some guys are going to give it a more positive spin on it and stuff. Don't you think sometimes that goes on?
Yeah, I think it could. Certainly, they're human beings, and they're going to. But I think for the most part, that's their job, and they're going to, they're going to be unbiased in their opinion of a movie, whether it makes, $900 billion, or it makes, $6. I think that. I think that they're gonna be unbiased and unfettered in their opinion. Because it's the aggregate. There might be some of those people in there, but because it's the aggregate, I think you can, generally you can trust it. But I'll give you a good example, okay? So I love Indiana Jones. I grew up, Raiders of the Lost Ark was one of those. That was a life-changing movie. There's a handful of them. There's the Star Wars movies, obviously. The Goonies, there's a handful of movies and franchises growing up back before comic book movies were comic book movies. And those were our superheroes because comic book movies weren't made back then. The Ghostbusters were our superheroes, Luke Skywalker or Indiana Jones or what, those were our superheroes. Okay. So back then, Indiana Jones, that was my guy. Well, as a almost 40-year-old man, well, I forget how old I was when that movie came out. Late 30s anyways.
Don't bring it up. I know where you're going.
Putting Harrison Ford in that costume and seeing him on the screen was enough.
Did you like it? You liked it.
I did, but I don't. Yeah. So what I'm telling you is that it didn't matter to me that it wasn't the best movie. Was that Harrison Ford in the fedora with the whip kicking the crap out of Nazis? Yes. Was that enough for me? Sure was. Gotcha. Now, was it the best movie? No, it was not that great of a movie. It was a little disjointed. It was, I get what Lucas was doing, not to go in the weeds on Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, but I get what he was trying to do. He was trying to take Indiana Jones into the atomic age. Indiana Jones had been locked into that era of the 30s and all, and he was trying to move on and get him into the 50s where all the alien conspiracies and all that stuff started. So there was a lot of meta going on in that movie that was disconnected from the people that were watching it. And you never want to have the kind of movie where you need to research what the guy was thinking to figure it out and to understand why, maybe that did make sense. Well, if you got to do that, it's too much. Anyways, my point is that if I were to have written a review after seeing that movie for Rotten Tomatoes, I would have given it a favorable review because it was freaking Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones. And so it didn't matter that it wasn't that great of a movie.
So
it was
they could have dressed him up, however, and you would have loved it.
It could have been Indiana Jones reads a book, man, and I'd have been like, cool. And so I think that these people that are, grew up with the characters like Harley Quinn.
But that's a fanboy, right? That's the essence of being a fanboy.
That's a fanboy. So if they're the ones that are writing these reviews, then of course they're going to be much more of them are going to be favorable. Now, 5 years from now, we'll see what those reviews look like. When people like you, who finally get around to seeing it because it was on Netflix or you found it on Amazon one day for $2 to rent or whatever, and you go and write a review about it. What are those opinions? That to me is more is a more accurate telling of whether it's an overall, whether it's a good movie or not. Because again, those fanboys, they just want to see Harley. That's me. I just want to see Harley Quinn. I love Harley Quinn. I've loved Harley Quinn not only as a book character, but she was actually first created for Batman the Animated Series. The first time we ever saw her was the people that created that show was when on that old cartoon, if you remember that cartoon. Mm-hmm. And then my favorite incarnation of that character has been in the Batman games, at Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight, and Arkham City. Arkham City especially. That's one of my all-time favorite video games. she's amazing. The character of Harley Quinn is phenomenal. It's phenomenally played. The voice acting is great. The animation of the character is great. The storyline is great. Like, it's just, she's a fantastic character. So to see that come to life on the big screen by Margot Robbie, who I also dig a lot, I think a lot of people do too. She's a brilliant actress. She's awesome. I don't know if you've seen any of her movies, but she's fantastic in just about everything that she does. So all that kind of coming together, it should be a good deal. And so to get excited about that part of it, I can see where you would, even if it's not the best movie, the fact that you get to see your girl put together on the screen by a good, legitimate actress who does the character right. Yeah, okay. I can, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I'm hoping for, frankly, as a fan of all this. That's what I'm hoping to get out of it. I mean, if they could get that part of it done, then it'll make it worth it, because I think there's going to be a lot of other things about it that just are going to completely take away from it, like the Joker, for instance. Ugh.
You're a freaking fanboy of fanboys. I don't even know who the heck you're talking about. Who's Harley Quinn? I don't know that stuff. Oh man, no. Which brings up an interesting topic. Do you watch? Like me and my wife, right? I've been watching Game of Thrones. I've watched Game of Thrones. I think I picked it up season 3. Was watching the last few seasons. Me and my wife, what were we watching? I don't know. We're always watching some show together. So the show we were watching ended. I can't even remember the name of it, which shows you the importance of shows you watch together, right? So we were wanting a new show. So I said, hey, what about Game of Thrones? And she goes, I don't know. I've heard it's gory and lots of, sex stuff, and she doesn't want to see that stuff. I was like, you can turn your head. I go, I turn my head anyway when I watch it, the sex scenes and stuff like that. I say, we'll watch it, and, we'll see. I'll just show you 1 or 2 episodes, see if you like it. She was hooked, dude. Loved it. And it's cool watching it again because there's so much content and dialogue in there that she's, much more intelligent than I am. And so she picks up on things. She tells me, oh, I didn't know this, and this. I'm like, oh, yeah, I knew that too, So she's been loving it, right? And so for our entertainment recently, it's been all TV shows, We watch so much stuff just on Netflix or HBO Go or Hulu. I can't even remember the last time we went to the movies together. So do you guys, with you and your wife, do you watch more movies together? Or, do you still go out to the movies often, or is it more just TV shows at the house and movies at the house, I guess, too?
Well, it's funny you say that, because that was actually one of the notes I had to talk about in our entertainment segment, was about the quality of stuff on streaming services like Netflix, for instance. But let me answer your question first. So the answer to your question is that, yes, we go to the movies a lot, and I say a lot. We go to the movies regularly. My wife and kids go to the movies more regularly than I do.
Like what? Once a month? Once a week? What do you mean?
Oh, yeah, easily once a month. In fact, they just went and saw The Secret Life of Pets yesterday.
Okay.
They went and saw that last night. Anyways, or not last night, but yesterday during the day while I was working. Because it was their last this is like their last weekend before school starts, and so they're spending time together. Me and the boys spent time together today. So kind of like just kind of closing out our summer. Anyways, so they went and saw that. And then like I mentioned, we went and saw Batman versus Superman as a family, together over the summer. And we're planning on seeing Suicide Squad. I'm going to go see Doctor Strange when it comes out. Of course, I'm going to go see Rogue One when it comes out. So we go to the movie, especially movies like that, like Rogue One, like that's going to be a family event. So we definitely, all of us will go see that together. And then they'll go, as they have free time, or, of course, then they're going to go with friends and stuff. They went and saw, oh my God, I'm trying to think of the other. Anyway, yes, it's part of it. And then my wife and I, when we hang out, we'll typically watch movies. Like we just love movies. We're just movie fans. And so, we just, we'll watch movies together. We'll watch like the new Tarantino flick was one of the ones we watched not long ago, The Hateful Eight. Watch that together. And then as our son, our oldest, is now 13, he's getting to the point where he can start to see, more adult-oriented content, and we can kind of turn him on to older movies like that we grew up on, or, as young adults, like, whether it be like the Aliens movies or Jaws or stuff like that. you're not going to show us 5-year-old, but now he's 13. It's like, hey man, check this out. Nudge, nudge. Watch this. And let's watch this. And let's let this blow your mind. Watch Terminator 2 with them or stuff. You know what I mean? Or we do comedies too, like, Big Daddy or, any of the Adam Sandler movies for the most part. There's still a few of them in there that I wouldn't show them. But anyways, so yes, watching movies is definitely, part of what we do. In fact, they're downstairs they're watching Turner and Hooch right now. Right. So it's definitely part of what we do. Oh, I'll give you another one we just did. The Revenant, phenomenal movie.
Yeah. Watch that one. That's good.
Oh my God.
That's amazing.
Tom Hardy is slowly becoming my favorite actor, not of all time, but certainly contemporary. Him and DiCaprio are just amazing. Tom Hardy, he's Bane, right? He played the Craze. He played, and then of course he's Mad Max, and then and now in The Revenant. He is amazing in everything he does. I saw a movie the other day called The Drop on my wife and I watched with him and James Gandolfini. It was Gandolfini's last movie before he died. Gandolfini is Tony Soprano. Last movie before he died, and Tom Hardy was brilliant in that too. So, anyways, I digress. So yes, we watch a lot of movies. Now, my follow-up question or follow-up statement, and I'm curious to your feedback on this. You and I have known each other a long time, and you've always kind of been a shows guy to me. You've always told me about, you got to watch The Office, and you got to watch Breaking Bad, and you got to watch Seinfeld, and you got like all your list of shows. And I've never been a shows guy. I kind of was younger. Like I liked watching Cheers.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
I liked watching Coach, but the quality of Netflix shows now, I'm now becoming a shows guy. Stranger Things, Bloodline.
Stranger Things looks awesome. Got 15 seconds. Bloodline is absolutely amazing. I haven't finished Stranger Things yet. I've only done one episode.
It's fantastic. Quality of Netflix shows is top notch and only getting better, especially the Marvel shows are the bomb.
Family, Murph. Family. As I'm 37, 2 kids, one's 3, the other one is one on the way. Kind of early to be talking about it, but due in March, I think we're several weeks along here. I'm on today playing the division. I'm in love with the division right now, and I'm playing. They were gone. They were out for a walk or something like that. It was middle of the day. Normally I don't play video games middle of the day, but been working a lot, kind of stressed out at work, just lots of stuff going on, and working. I had to work. Usually I have Fridays. I have 3-day weekends, so I had to work Friday. Had to work a little bit today in the morning. Had to take off for a bit, and so I finally got home. Just wanted to chill for a minute. Pop on the division. I'm playing it, and in the section of the division that I play, you always have to have a headset on and mic and communicate and stuff like that in the dark zone. So I'm in there playing, and everybody comes home, and I'm like, sweet, and I can see my kids. But I'm in the middle, and I can't really I can't stop what I'm doing at the moment. So I was like, hey guys, I'll be there in a minute and stuff like that. So then and then somebody comments, and I'm in a chat with 3 other guys, 4 total, and they're like, oh yeah, it sounds like my house and stuff, I was like, yeah, sorry, I'll try to mute the mic when they're here. So then, the kids start yelling, Dom got a new fire truck from his nanny and stuff, and so then, of course, Anthony wanted to play with it, so he starts grabbing it and stealing it from Dom. And I'm like, hey, guys, I'm trying to find some new gear for my character in the division, It's like a lame-o. So then so I just mute the mic, But then this other guy, he's talking all this nonsense on the mic, He's like, yeah, I'll fold them in a minute, He's talking like his wife, right? He goes, yeah, I'll get to it in a minute, I'll get to it in a minute. And it was weird, man, because I was already kind of feeling guilty about, putting my video game character's progression above literally my own character progression in life, because I'm sitting on the couch, but then also my family's progression as well. And so then hearing this guy, it just, man, it was a trip, dude. I just started I went into deep thinking mode and started tripping out, and then a couple minutes later he goes, hey guys, I'll be right back. I have to go take my kid out of the bathtub, and I'm like, what the heck? His kid's just kicking it in the bathtub while this guy waits to finish a game and stuff like that, So at one point I'm like, yo, bro, you better go before she turns into a prune, So we go to a safe room and he goes and gets his kid and comes back. And then this is the fascinating thing. He goes, sorry guys, that took too long. And then I started really thinking about like prioritizing and timing and should there ever be a moment where this guy comes to a video game chat and apologizes to 3 people that he's known for 20 minutes, knows nothing about other than their gamer tag name, and will never ever talk to again, yet he apologizes to us for taking time out to go tend to his daughter as fast as possible to get her out of the bathtub. It was weird, man. And then this guy's just and my mic's off, right? Because my kids were in the living room and stuff, so I'm better, right? My mic was off at least. So I'm talking to my kids and listening to this. Now I'm fascinated by the conversation that's going on in the chat. So then he starts talking to his wife while he's playing the game. Like, yeah, honey, and don't think that way again, and you're gonna be crazy, just have a normal conversation like he's like in an argument or something like that with her. And I'm just like, I'm blown away by it because it's all taking place over this game chat and stuff, So a lot of different ways we could go with that. But that's just kind of my thoughts coming into this about balancing gaming and family and all that stuff. So what do you take away from that?
I celebrate yours and even their ability to multitask in that fashion. I could never do that. I've occasionally, being a big gamer myself, I can remember at times like, when my oldest son was born and him being little and me babysitting him for the day and us being at home together, babysitting, but me being at home with him, alone for the day when mom was out doing stuff. And, him falling asleep in his car seat or carrier thing and not wanting to leave him like in another room unattended or whatever. And like brought him into the room where my PC was and stuff and like gaming, like playing games online while he was like there sleeping and that kind of stuff. But, I can't, if I'm an immersion guy when I'm gaming and I'm either all in or I'm out. Like I can't play a game with the sound off and like try to be like carrying on conversations with something that isn't directly related to what exactly it is I'm doing. That and to me it's, again, this isn't a judgment. It's just kind of my take on it is that if you're not all in with the person that's there in real life, then you're not all that. In business, it drives me nuts to be at a business lunch and have somebody with their nose in their phone. And I'm not talking about like, excuse me, I got to take this email or I got to grab this call or, I got to glance down and return a text. They're just dinking around on it. Like, then you're not engaged with it. And I've even had people do that in meetings and I'll have to, a lot of times now, like if I'm doing a presentation or if I'm doing like a seminar, so I'll tell people, turn your phones off, please, or mute them or put them on silent. And if you need to take a call, go ahead, but get up and excuse yourself. Don't piddle on your phone while we're in here because it's just, to me, it's like, and I know there's a lot of people that like, they can learn more audibly and you can, you're using 2 different parts of your brain. Like if you're sitting there playing Clash of Clans and you're listening to a seminar, I get it. You can do both things simultaneously, but just the social aspect of it, I think is what's missing. And it's just that lack of engagement, like my kids, I'll look at me, you gotta look at me when I'm talking to you. I tell them, I know you're listening to me because you're looking at me. And so I think there's a lot of that too. Like if I'm playing a game and someone else is in the room and they're trying to, converse with me and my eyes are on the freaking screen and I'm playing a game, then I'm not all in. I'm not all in on the game and I'm not all in on the conversation. So I'm going to stop and put the controller down and I'm going to engage and so, my wife and I, like, for instance, like when there's something like that going on, we just kind of have an understanding that, I'm going to stop. I just stop and then she'll do her thing and she'll be like, okay, I'm finished. Like she'll tell me that. She'll be like, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here. And like which is like her cue to me of go ahead, go back to your game. You know what I mean? I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Like it's because it's either one or the other. Like the guys that are like, if my kid's taking a bath, I'm not even getting on. Like, again, and this is not this is not even like, my way's better. I'm not playing that at all. I'm just saying like, I need to be focused on my kid. Like I don't know. This is not a good time for me to game. Like I'm just not going to play. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'd rather, because I got to pay attention to him. It's my obligation and the fact that I love my child,
Well, and let alone like as soon as my kids came home, I was like, okay, I got to finish this up and get out. So I think I was on there maybe a total of 7 more minutes. They were right in front of me, and then I jumped off. Then I was in kid mode. They were on a walk when I started. As soon as I got home, I finished up, got off. Right. But like this guy's kid was in the bathtub, and he wasn't watching her. That's weird to me. That creeps me out to a certain degree. I was not judging the guy and stuff, but if you're in the living room playing a video game while your kid's in the bathtub, that's a red flag.
I mean, if his kid's 23, then okay, no big deal. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
If your kid, depending on the age of the child. I mean, if the kid's like 6 or something, all right, I can maybe kind of understand that a little bit. But to me, the fact that you knew that the kid was in the bathtub lends the fact that the kid needs to be attended of some sort.
Exactly. And had to get out of the bat. Had to get help getting out of the bathtub.
Yes, and if that's the case, then no, you don't need to be turning on your freaking Xbox. And I would. That is I would judge that. I would tell you, quit it, Dad. Be a dad. Don't tend to your baby. It's not time to be a gamer. And that's the stuff that it's tough at times. Because just like how I led this whole thing off, it's that surrendering of yourself that you got to put things ahead of you, and you don't get gaming time as much or ever. At some points in your life. There's a reason that you and I quit doing a podcast, at different times is with as much, success as we may have had with it, we put the brakes on it because family took precedent. And so that was a big thing or a bigger time commitment, but even the little time commitments like, we're going to hop on and play the Division for an hour. Well, no, don't play the Division for an hour. Wait till everything's settled down in your house. And then go play the Division for an hour before you go to bed or whatever the case may be. But, I'm with you. That's a tough one. And, you hear all kinds of stories, not as much as you used to, about people neglecting their kids to play World of Warcraft and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You hear those crazy stories of people that have, abandoned their families in these, really extreme cases. But I think even the little stuff like that, bath time with your kid,
that's fun. That
should
be
kind
fun.
of a big deal. That should be something.
Interactive,
that should be something
right?
You should be in there playing toys or whatever. That should be something that's or if you want to play on your phone and sit on the toilet and play on your phone while the kid's playing with their Legos or whatever.
At least you're there.
At least you're there. You know what I mean? That's understandable. Being in the other room and all that. No, I don't. I'm with you. I couldn't roll like that either.
And the interesting thing is, think about how many 14, 15, 13-year-olds play video games, right? But the average age of gamers now is 31 years old. I'm reading this on VentureBeat. It was 2014, so it might have changed in the last 2 years. More gamers are over the age of 36 than between the ages of 18 to 35. So more people play games that are over 36 than between the ages of 18 to 35 or under the age of 18. And they're mostly men. Men make up 52%, but women have grown between 50 and women have grown over the age of 50, but grew by 32%. So that brings up the question that if the average age of gamers is 31, then more dads and more moms are playing games. More people who have kids are playing games because typically you have kids later in life. And so if the average age is 31, that just means more children are now growing up in households where parents are playing games and stuff like that. And so this is kind of a question to you, because my kids are still pretty young. How do you balance that? What I try to do is I try to limit all my gaming to at night. So the kids go to bed. Anthony goes to bed, I think, at 6:30. Dom, we try to have him in bed by 7:30, unless he's negotiating for peanut butter and milk or whatever, I don't negotiate with bedtime terrorists, though. But So most of my gaming is way late, and so I'll hang out with the wife. We'll hang out, we'll talk, we'll do whatever. We'll watch movies or whatever. Then she goes to bed around 10:30, and then I'll stay up, depending on the night, up till 2, 3, whatever, or 1, playing games. So most of my gaming is done late at night because I don't want to interfere with the other stuff. I don't want that to interfere with my wife and kids. Now, if they take off, for something, if they're going to a birthday party for another kid, and I got a few hours on a Saturday or something like that, I may pop on and play it or something. But really the question is, how do you balance it? And what is the right balance? Does it come down to each household does their own balance? Do you play the games with your kids? Do you have set time? What do you do?
Yeah, I think we're a combination of all of that stuff. You know, our kids, both of them they love music, and so both of them are active playing their instruments. Both of them are, I hesitate to call them athletes. I don't want to call them that, but they both play sports. So one is pretty locked into baseball, and the other one's pretty locked into football. So they do that actively. So they get lots of, especially during this time of year, from my oldest one who plays football. I mean, he's playing football 5 days a week, so it's not like the kid's not outside getting exercise. So at this point for him, it's kind of on him. I mean, and it's funny because he kind of regulates his own gaming time. Like, the kid hasn't turned on his Xbox in probably, I don't know, close to a month, I would say. But not because anybody told him he couldn't play games. He's just been busy doing other things and just been active in other areas. And, when he gets home from football practice, he's wiped out. And so instead of, playing something like The Division or Battlefront or something where he's on high alert, he'd rather just sit on his bed and, watch Arrow or The Flash.
But how do you balance it, being a father and being a gamer at the same time? Like how do you do it?
Oh, for my own gaming?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, I mean, so part of that is playing with both of my kids. If I'm going to game and it's, during the day, or if it's early evening or whatever, we'll play those games together. My youngest one, we were playing Lego Dimensions earlier today, or, the older one, like I said, he hadn't played in a while, but when he was playing, we'll play Battlefront together, and we'll play Division or whatever. So that's part of it. But yeah, my game time is usually regulated towards the later hours. Just very similar to what you just said. If they take off for the day and they're out, going to birthday parties in the farmer's market and going shopping and doing whatever, and they're gone, then, and all my household stuff is caught up on. I mean, all that stuff takes precedent, if I gotta, do chores around the house or whatever. But if all my honey-do list is complete and I got time and it's not football season, then I'm going to be playing. I'll play games during the day. But here, and getting ready to be after this weekend, I mean, if it's a Saturday or Sunday during the day, I'm not playing games. I'm watching football. And that with the football season schedule, that pretty much bleeds into the evening hours too. So my gaming gets drastically reduced. But anyways, assuming it's not football season, or it's not the World Series or not the basketball playoffs or something like that going on, that's going to, occupy that free time, then I do it at night. I'll do it after everybody goes to bed. That's usually a good time to do it because, like I mentioned earlier, I don't do multiple things at a time real well. Heck, sometimes you and I'll get on there. Well, you and I'll be talking about something unrelated to the game we're playing, and I'm stinking. I'm dying like crazy because I can't talk to you about our family and then.
Well, that's your excuse.
Whatever,
anyway.
Sure, I'll use it. But I can't do that and be, killing bad guys at the same time. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's to each do is his own. You gotta, at the end of the day, whatever, if that's your hobby and that's your thing, because we all need that self time, right? We all need that release time. That we need to stare at the fire, right? We're men, or we're carnal. We gotta stare at the fire. At least I'm identifying as a man as of this podcast. Okay, so as of this podcast, I gotta stare at fire. So that's the way I stare at fire, and that's the way that I get that, whether it's be parts of my competitive nature or just carnal nature, just that trying to get that stuff out. Then that's where it comes out, is with games. And so, so I'll do that typically after everybody's conked out and there's no distractions from it. And, and then if it works out to where we can do that together at times then we'll do that too. But ultimately, my fatherly responsibilities, my husbandly responsibilities, and man around the house responsibilities got to be taken care of first before I do any of that stuff.
Do you ever play games on a Saturday afternoon? And do you feel guilty about it?
Yeah, it's the craziest thing, man. It's like, I'll get like, or we'll have a day where like, I'll get home from work and I'll go to the gym or whatever, and I'll be home and it'll be, I don't know, like 6 o'clock or something like that. And the kids will downstairs maybe doing homework, and my wife's cooking, or she's, doing a Bible study, or she's doing something else. You know what I mean? Where it's like everybody's kind of occupied and my kind of stuff is already done. and then I'll throw on a game and I'll be sitting there playing it and I'll just be like, ooh, like feel like I'm getting away with something, like,
Yeah, you're cheating, right? Like you're cheating.
Like, oh man, I'm totally playing Star Wars and it's 6:30. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it does. It feels weird because it's like, because again, I always want to make sure those other things are taken care of first. So at times when it is a Saturday afternoon at a time when you normally got something else you should be doing, but you've gotten all that stuff taken care of so that when you do play, it feels like you're playing hooky from something,
Yeah, I find the afternoon gaming is very tempting, especially when you had a long week. It seems like it's much more easy to muster up enough energy to go sit on the couch and level up your imaginary character and then level up your house, if you will, outside and stuff like that. Excuse me. I remember a couple years ago I bought the Skyrim expansion pack. I think it was Hearthstone, and in one of the things you had to do, you had to go build a house, and you actually had to put like time into like cutting the material, going and finding it, putting it together. And I literally spent probably 3 or 4 hours doing this on a Saturday morning once. And I was like, I'm just going to pop on for a bit, then I'll go do my Saturday chores. So I'm on there for 3 or 4 hours doing my stuff. And then it just hit me. I was like, man, like I just spent 3 or 4 hours building a fake house in a fake environment that's nothing for nothing. And yet my outside house, my gutters needed to be cleaned. I had to sweep the back concrete, just stuff to do, And so it's hard. It's an interesting battle that I still do to this day, but try to keep it at night, man, just to be those family duties because I don't want my kid in the bath and I'm gaming, 30 seconds. Last thoughts.
I think that it's important to do things that distract you from the real life to get that relaxation time or however it is that you choose to get down, but make sure that your responsibilities are handled. First and foremost, you do have an obligation to be a father, a husband.
And take your kid out of the bath before you play the game. All right, Murph, that's the third topic of the day. We went sports first, entertainment second, and family third, all coming in right at a sharp 20 minutes per. That concludes the first episode of Degos on 3, which happens to be our third endeavor at a podcast. So the number 3 there coming back around. Any final words, Murph, before we sign off for today?
Yeah, I'm still completely pissed that the way I let off the show was by telling you that I'm a completely uninteresting, ill-informed individual with nothing to offer. I think I'll work on that for next show.
Well, don't worry about it, because after the content you provided for the first show, it really backs up your opening statement, so it's okay. At least they know you speak the truth.
Yeah. Great.
Our podcast will be Tuesdays. Is that when it's going to drop? Is that right?
Tuesdays or Wednesdays, yeah.
Okay, so look for the podcast Tuesdays. We'll post it on Twitter. We'll post it on Facebook. It'll be on libsyn.com/DegosOn3, and it'll be in iTunes as well. Thanks, everybody, for listening in. We'll see you next week. Cue the music, Murph. Dun, 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 dun.
Thanks for checking out our podcast. Tune in each Tuesday morning for a new episode. Downloadable on iTunes and Stitcher. Facebook at DegosOn3. Twitter at DegosOn3. And DegosOn3.libsyn.com.
All right, we're done.